468 to Miami at gate 14. Thank you.
What do you mean they're on another plane?
Well, sometimes when there's an overflow, we send the bags ahead on another flight.
Great, so if they end up in Fiji or something, what am I supposed to do then? I have to go to a wedding.
A wedding, that's great. Who's getting married?
Our brother. Look, when I pay for a ticket, I assume that my bag...
I suppose my sister had every right to be nervous. She had heard of luggage ending up in Fiji instead of Sydney and wanted to make sure that it didn't happen to us.
Check to see if they're actually going to reroute the luggage.
It was hardly noticeable, but behind our check-in attendant's confident smile,
to Sydney, Australia.
something was wrong. There was something in the turn of her mouth, the urgency of her fingers on the keyboard that suggested that things might not be as straightforward as she would have us believe. Perhaps in the streaming numbers and tables of flight paths, destination arrival and departure times, she became aware of a certain unknowable element. Some possibility that things weren't as they should be.
Laura, could you check these people in for me, please? I'm not feeling too well. I feel a bit dizzy.
Now let's see, you're on your way to Australia. Oh, that's gonna be great down there.
Inspired by the writings of Freud and Jung in the early 1900s, Salvador Dali and the Surrealists believed that the most fertile ground for inspiration lay locked within the subconscious. They developed a system to visit their subconscious and document what they had seen in their mind's eye. With a notebook and pencil at the ready, the artist would lie down on a daybed while holding onto a heavy silver spoon. Drifting off to sleep, the grip would weaken until finally it fell. The sound of the spoon as it hit the floor would wake the dreamer, who would scramble to write down all that had been seen.
Good evening, folks. This is Captain Robeson speaking. I hope you're having an enjoyable flight.
There was something about the barf bag. I'd been staring at it for hours. I'd been trying to sleep, but I kept being woken by the strained smile of the stewardess with yet another thing to give me. Each time I nodded off, I was back in Berlin.
Ausland sind mit Sonderzügen zur sogenannten Love Parade in Berlin eingetroffen.
And then it hit me. Why was there a small space for my name and address on a barf bag?
Thanks a lot.
Then I started thinking about the check-in lady back in Toronto. I kept on wondering whether or not she'd thrown up. I remember when we were kids, my brother and sister and I used to love bringing ourselves to the edge of nausea with the merry-go-round. We would spin until the blood made a throbbing sound in our heads and then stagger across the playground, the whole world rushing around our ears. To keep ourselves from throwing up, we would lean our heads against a tree trunk and breathe in the musty, dark smell of the bark. Growing up in Michigan, we spent a lot of time driving to Toronto to visit our grandparents. During these long car rides, it was never a question of if we were going to get sick, but when and how often.
Adam's gonna throw up.
Shove him in the trunk.
Are you gonna vomit?
Adam, just hold on.
Here we go.
Eventually, our parents discovered the magic of the motion sickness pill. Tiny, yellow, and very bitter tasting, this wonder drug played a clever trick on our young minds. Car travel would become so utterly fascinating that we would actually forget to throw up. The hours would drift by as we lazily rediscovered the beauty of the world around us.
Get out. Hi.
The only problem was trying to remember who the friendly old people were. I was late for work after spending the night with Andreas and was having a lot of difficulty walking to the tram stop. Simply ignoring the fact that the world around me was spinning crazily out of control didn't seem to help. The dizziness wasn't totally new, but this was definitely the most incapacitating episode. I'd been trying not to worry about it, knowing that it was yet another feeble attempt by my body to tell me something that I didn't want to hear. But I wasn't prepared for this kind of attack. Across the street, I spotted the bakery. Surely the smells of warm cinnamon buns and coffee would pull me back to the real world, if I could just make it across the street. I went to see the doctor because I was afraid I had some kind of terminal brain tumor.
That makes it only worse. You know, Ihr Schwindelgefühl kommt nur durch den Druck der Umstände. I mean, your dizziness is just because of the outside, you know, things that happens outside. It's the outside. I have here...
She told me that my dizziness was due to stress only, and gave me a pamphlet with drawings explaining various techniques to realign myself within my body. It seemed to be an overly simple solution to things. At university, my brother Jeffrey was a star athlete and editor of the campus newspaper. One evening after dinner, while strolling with his girlfriend, she announced that she was dumping him for someone else. Jeff nodded coolly, taking the news all in stride. And then ducking behind some bushes, he threw up his dinner. From the beginning, Andreas said that it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair, falling in love with someone that you knew was going to be going away. I met Andreas on one of my nights out with Nathan. Nathan was my American friend who told me that he only lived in Berlin for the sex.
Adam, what? Do you think you can buy some whiskeys?
We went to the Pick Ab, a sleazy East Berlin dive with a back room where men could go and masturbate together. Nathan pulled out a greasy little packet and we snorted a few lines of speed in the downstairs toilet.
Nathan, I'm gonna go. Adam, where are you going? Okay, I don't feel like staying here. I gotta go upstairs. I'll be up in a minute. Don't leave yet. Okay. Adam, just 1 second. Don't leave. Okay. Yeah.
When I got upstairs, I started to feel a little strange. At first, I thought it was the speed rushing through my veins, and then realized it had more to do with the dark-haired boy sitting in the shadows. As he walked toward me, I started to feel dizzy. Andreas caught me before I hit the ground. On my last night in Australia, I woke to the sounds of sickness. It was coming through my hotel window that looked out onto a narrow light shaft. I could hear belabored moans, followed by the loud splash of vomit hitting concrete just a few feet from my bed. I started to imagine this person on their knees 2 floors above me. What had caused this reign of anguish? Something terrible that sometimes only alcohol can soothe? Was it lost love? And as I lay there in the dark, I wondered, if the force of acceleration due to gravity was 9.8 meters per second squared, and the path of the vomit began about 20 feet up, what was its speed as it hit the ground? The Earth spins at 10,000 miles per hour on its axis, as it rotates around the sun every 365 days. It's not surprising that we experience a little dizziness every now and then.
Vier Wochen Brötchen, bitte. Nee, kein Brot. Hat doch Vollkornbrötchen gesagt.
Nun sagen Sie wollen, was Sie wollen. Ich habe keine Zeit für Ihren Unsinn.
Viel Vollkornbrötchen, bitte.
All of us have ways to cope with the moments in our lives when the slippage is too great, too fast, and out of control. Moments when we need something, like the deep aroma of freshly baked bread to bring us back from the edge of the terrifying abyss opening under our feet.
Die Fresse, fette Kuh.
Was fällt dir ein? Hau raus hier! Raus aus meiner Bäckerei! Hau ab!
I wonder what the woman at the check-in counter does when she feels like that. I wonder if she knows that her dizziness is a gift, a reminder of the fragility of the order of things, the delicacy of the alignment of ourselves in a world that will never stop spinning, in a universe that will never stop expanding.